Hi, I'm Carlin. Thanks for checking out my video to my electric bike project that I'm naming Turtle. I live about 15 miles from the nearest town, where the post office, gas station, and civilized people live. In April, I sold my truck, leaving a broken down motorcycle and a couple of bicycles. What you're about to see is my attempt at building an off-grid DIY survival quadracycle, a pedal-powered microcar with electric solar assist. I did a little research, but my way is most likely not the best way to do this. Once a week, I ride a bicycle into town to check mail and packages. I like bike riding, so I'm kind of looking forward to trying this out. That's the plan anyway. Stay tuned and be sure to subscribe if you're interested. There's never a good way to do it, but I'm sure this isn't it. This is still the rolling prototype. I'm just trying to get enough parts kludged together to see if this is going to work at all. Seems like it's working okay. This is working fantastically well. Halfway there, got to do the other side now. Yeah, I'm pretty excited. That's working really good. Pretty good pile of shavings. Half of them are stuck into my fingers. Those little things are just freaking sharper than needles. Alright, so those are all on the shaft. So I got the two outer wheels. So it ends up I got a red one and a black one. This is going to be the one for the pedaling. There'll be about 6 sprockets on that. And then this one over here will be the one that I will mount the big sprocket to that. Maybe weld it or something. I'm not exactly sure. But that's got the ratchet in it. And this has got a ratchet. Except I can't show you. There we go. Just got to make sure I got them facing the right way. Okay, let me see if I can summarize how things are going right now. Okay, so this is a bicycle hub. It's been horribly mangled by pipe wrench, actually. This is where the sprockets would normally go for like a 6 or 7 speed rear end on a bicycle. You can hear the clicking. That's the ratchet. So when you're coasting, that's what you hear. Then we start to pedal, it engages, and then you turn. Okay. I took all the spokes off of this wheel. I'm going to mount this to the axle that drives both rear wheels, and then I can pedal and it'll turn both rear wheels. The problem is, how do I mount this to the axle? Okay, so what I've come up with here, this is many days of agony. A lot of it was just too much thinking and not enough doing. Once I finally settled down, it wasn't so bad after all. Okay. One issue though, the end of the hub, this is hardened steel. That's the bearing race that the bearings would usually go in. I took the bearings out and I just want to mount this to the axle directly. I swear it was not windy 5 minutes ago. Yeah, go figure, right? Okay, so what I realized, first try, I used a Dremel tool with a carbide tip and that was able to cut through the hardened steel. That was revolutionary. I come up with the idea and then wait a week or two for it to get delivered. Got a few of them. I've been using this for a few things here. Okay. Then I realized, well, what I really wanted was a slot. Originally I was going to drill a hole in here. I could not drill through this with a regular drill bit. It would not go. Just no, not going. Hardened. You can't drill through a bearing race, pretty much. Normal tools won't work. Okay. Just go with me on that. So what I came up with was, if I just, instead of drilling the hole, if I just cut a slot. Well, then I played around with it a little bit and realized that my cutoff wheels would cut it. So that was good. And I don't know if this is going to show up, but you can actually see there's different layers here. So this outer piece is softer steel so they could form it. And the inner piece is a bearing race that's pressed into that. Yeah, that's pretty clever. And then this piece is another softer piece. I was thinking it was aluminum at first, but I think it is steel because I get sparks off it a little bit with the grinder. But it's not hardened. So that's the third piece. That all comes together. So you got a center tube, the part that the flange, I guess, that the spokes attach to, and then the bearing race goes on the inside, and that's all pressed together apparently. I don't see any welds. I think it's just a friction pressed together. You know, maybe they'd heat one up, slide it together, and then it cools and it locks it, something like that. Okay, so that's that. This piece is a piece of black iron pipe. What I'm going to do is weld the nut onto here and use a short bolt into it. It's not supposed to be threaded, it just happens to be a tight fit right now. Such that when I tighten it down, this will lock to the shaft. I'm taking these pieces, which are cut off of a 1/4 inch bolt, but that doesn't matter. I'm going to weld them on to make ears on two sides. And let me just grab a bolt again. So if you ignore the fact that there won't be a center to this, so just no bolt in the middle, but I actually considered welding it first, cutting the ends off to length, and then boring the middle out. And then I'm like, well, how am I supposed to do that? You know, it's below flush just a little bit, so you really couldn't get the cutoff wheel in there. Maybe the Dremel, you know, and the reason I wanted to do it that way is so that they would both be straight, but then I realized it probably wasn't super critical. But if I just use that for now, and this one slides together with this one, now I've got a drive, because I don't want to have to weld this on. I'd like to be able to take this apart, because as I come up with better ideas, I want to take it apart and make improvements. So if I weld this together, I can't get it apart again, right? So I got to be able to take it apart in pieces. I'm going to end up with two of these on the rear axle. This one is for pedaling. I have another one that's off a BMX bike that's going to hook up to the electric motor. Okay, so I'm going to end up with two rear drive hubs, both with the ratchet freewheel, so that the electric motor can coast and the pedals can coast. Okay, that's the way I'm doing it. That's not normal, but here we are. Okay. So it's going to be two of these hubs in the middle, and then the two bearing blocks, and mounted to the chassis, and then outboard of that is the two wheels, and the wheels already have hubs. No, I take that back. The rear wheels don't need hubs because I'm doing the hubs in the middle with the freewheel. So I want the outer wheels, the actual drive wheels, mounted to the axle, not freewheeling. But once I figured this out, I just realized it's just like, well, this is how I'm going to do all the wheels, all the hubs. Okay, so the way it's set up, my rear wheels on Turtle are actually front wheels off a bicycle. Okay, I saved the rear wheels for this. The front wheels don't have this, so I took out the bearings on the other wheels. I'm going to do the same slot and this kind of a setup. This will lock the wheel to the axle so it doesn't spin. Then I turn the axle and the wheel turns with it. I think that's about as simple as it gets. Now, I don't know if it's going to work. I have no idea if this is going to last for a long time or not. But the fact that this center core is hardened steel and it's keyed into here in two places, I think it's got a chance. So on the axle, I'm going to grind a flat that this is going to go up against, and then this nut will be welded onto here so that I can tighten it down, probably some Loctite on there, and then this will be something that if I needed to, I can just loosen this up and slide it off again and, you know, make my improvements or whatever. But if I cut a slot into the axle, then this bolt can drop into it. That's a pretty common setup, keyway and so on. I actually thought about cutting keys into these also, but I'm going to go with this first and see. I don't know. It's an experiment, but it's the best I can come up with. It's the simplest of all of the ideas I've had so far. And that's kind of why this has taken so long, is I've had to figure out not only what is the best way to do it, but what is the best way that I can do it. That's kind of the issue, right? I'll have another one of these pieces of iron pipe on the opposite side just to keep it level, because that was the last part of it. These, the openings, didn't fit on my axle, so I used my Dremel tool. That was the first thing I used because it's hardened steel again. I used the Dremel tool and just carefully opened up that circle until it fit over the axle. So it's not perfectly round or straight or true or anything, but it's pretty close and it does fit. And then these iron pipes are 1/2-inch iron pipes. I realized with a little bit of time, I could take a 5/8 drill bit and bore it out. It wasn't that much, so this is a little bit thinner, but it does fit. And it's steel, so it's fairly strong, right? So it's kind of like that's the way it's been going, is just, okay, one little problem at a time, just keep working through it until you get it all solved. Yeah, I know, madness, right? And I guess it's been fun and frustrating at the same time, because you think, okay, how would I do this if I was doing it the right way? Well, the first thing I'd do is probably have a lathe and a mill. So since I don't have that, and that's a follow-up discussion, I guess. If somebody just sent me a lathe and a mill, that would be wonderful, but I don't want to ask for one, because this project, when it's done, I maybe wouldn't use it again. And I'm very sure that the next version of this will be completely different again. This is just enough to get me going, and then I'll have some time to use it and test it and make some changes, because odds are this is not anywhere near how it's supposed to be. Well, I already know that. And it's amazing how many things you can build with a grinder. I want to make sure it goes in as far as it can. Okay, now my pipe is bottoming out, so I actually don't need to cut those any deeper. That's good to know. Okay. All right, so I walked into the bus, stared at, just basically stared, looking for an idea that I hadn't pictured yet. Grabbed a couple magnets off the ceiling. I didn't want to waste my rare earth magnets, which I've got a bunch of, but they're expensive. And I think high heat can screw up a magnet. So I had a bunch of like refrigerator magnets left over from something. They'd come off of like a shower curtain or something like that. So I stuck them inside, and that's enough to hold the stud up. So I'll just tack it and then get the other one in there and tack it, and then pop the magnets out, and they should be okay for next time. Yeah, I think I killed my magnets. Second side, it wouldn't stick at all. All right, the good news is this, are we even in the shot? Maybe, baby. The threads on here don't matter. I'm just using those as studs, so that doesn't really, let's get a lot of flashing or something. That might be coming from the magnet too. Anyway, that is very hot, so I'm gonna go cool it off. Be right back. I am covered in glitter. This would be a good day for some people. Not so much for me. This is just solid glitter here. carbide tip, oh my god, cuts through welds. No big deal. Gotta be a little bit careful, but it just like, yeah, no big deal. Just chews through them. Some spots I use the cutoff wheel or the regular angle grinder wheel, hard wheel. Some parts, if I needed to get in closer, I use the carbide and just buzz it off. Man, it just blows right through it. That is freaking awesome. So that does fit. That's basically what we're looking for. It's a nice fit too. It doesn't have much wiggle. Because if you had a lot of slop, you'd feel it, but that's not too bad. And it's easy to get together. It's not such a tight interference fit. You can't get it in there, right? So that seems like it'll work. I did test this. I ground a flat on my sacrificial bolt here and just get it on, tighten it down. And I just set it in a vise and cranked on it with my channel locks. And it didn't feel like it wanted to slip, so that's a good start, right? We'll just go with that. So basically, I'm going to say this one is working, and I'm going to leave it alone. When I put this together for real, I'll have a second jam nut, or put another nut on here to tighten it down against. Probably Loctite also. Also, I did bring up my 1/4 inch tap, and I just ran it through here once to clean up the threads, because the welding process, it fused. I think it melts the plating on these, because these are zinc, right? So it probably isn't good for things, but usually what I'll do is I'll take one bolt, put it in there just to keep splatter from getting inside. That also helps you align it with the hole. So if you run it through, now you got the bolt coming through. That'll keep it centered on the hole where you want it. Do your welding, crank it out, get it out as fast as you can, if possible. Because when it cools, it's going to really shrink down on it. Then if it's stiff, go in there with the tap and just cut through it again. And it seems fine now. You can do it all the way down by hand. So that's good. I had thought if this was any thicker, I would have just cut threads into this directly, but I don't think that would have been strong enough. Welding the nut on is a way better way. And anything that's rough doesn't matter. It's not in a place that matters. So for now, I'm just going to leave it like that. Maybe later I'll clean things up a little bit, but honestly, I'm going to be months into this project before I really know if it's even going to work, right? And the lingering fear, best way to say it, honestly, is that I'm going to be 30 miles from home and strip one of these out, or something else is going to break, and I don't even have a truck to get home to anymore. You know, when I broke the motorcycle down on the freeway and walked 20 miles across the desert, so I do have experience with that. At least when I got here, I could put on a fresh set of clothes, grab my keys, jump in my truck. On the way back to work the next day, loaded the motorcycle into the back of the truck, went to work, did my shift, got home, unloaded the motorcycle, and then I could deal with it, right? But I think I missed 1 day of work off of that, which, you know, but I was freaking exhausted the day I got back, because I had been, you know, walking all day the day before kind of thing, so it weren't pretty. So if I can avoid that, that's why I'm overbuilding. So I think that's a good starting point, though, because this will lock to the shaft and this will lock to that. So I need to do the same on the other hub, and then on both wheels, and then we can actually test it. Yeah, very cool. All right. All right, it's 4:30 on a Friday. It just definitely feels like quitting time, but I'm almost done. This was one of those days where it was hot enough I really almost wanted to quit at noon. A lot of mornings I work until noon or 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and then just knock it off. But then the breeze would come up and it would cool off, or I'd go in and take a break and kind of plow through it. So what I've got, I kept feeling if I could just push through the next step, then I could move forward. So let's see, this is the single speed. This will be somehow I'm going to attach that to here. I haven't got that figured out yet. One problem at a time. So this one's done. It slots in. I got to clean that one up, but I'm not going to worry about it. On this end, I left a 3-inch one. I'm going to probably end up drilling and doing this on this end, but instead of it being keyed to the thing, it'll just kind of be a lock to keep it in place. If you didn't, this would end up sliding off of these keys. Okay, so that'll be in the middle. I'm kind of waiting on that until I get it on the axle and figure out the spacing, because I may not need all of it or something. So both of these are the same. And this one is the one that I did all the cleanup on. Oops, not even on camera. Okay, so that's that one. It does go on there. Yep. All right. Sorry, I'm working wrong-handed and I'm off the shot here. Anyway, so those are done. What I came up with here, I drilled all the way through on the outer and made a collar. This will keep the wheel from falling off. So that'll be the outer, I don't know, the outer thing. Okay, and then both of these wheels, I've got these keys already cut in them. Yeah, that shows up. It's hard to get a shot. Oh, there we go. Yeah, there we go. You can kind of see it. So they're cut right down to almost the spokes. In fact, being the spaz, I'm all grinding away. Yeah, I almost cut through one of my spokes. So if I have a broken spoke, I'll know why. Yeah, dumbass. Anyway, so these are drilled all the way through. So when we get to that, I'll choose an appropriate length of bolt, put a lock nut on there, and then the wheel can't fall off no matter what, right? I mean, unless that bolt falls off, but that's pretty much secure. Okay, so that's that. So these are now the collars that will drive against those wheels. So I'm going to weld this one first, and then this one, and then the same. This is exactly the same setup as what I did before with my little nubs, and I got 4 of them somewhere. There's the other 2 over there. So I'm going to weld one and then weld the other one and then come back and try to get those nubs. So hopefully we can just knock this out. There's irony here. I'm either running a 9,000 watt generator and I'm not connected to the battery charger on the main system. I'm like, but I hate running one more cord. I keep turning this on, run it a couple minutes, shut it off. So it's not, it doesn't feel like it's worth, I don't know, running the battery charger like that. Yeah, that one's crooked. Gotta clean up some splatter. Yeah, this one's crooked too. Damn it. Could have done better. This is why I should quit at the end of the day. Anyway, yeah, it's about 5 o'clock. I think that's a good stopping time. Put in a good solid shift today though. Alright, how do I clean all this crap up? Basically grab a part, get it all deburred, cleaned up, make sure that the inside is smooth so I can slide it on. It's like some of these, I didn't want to spend the time yesterday cleaning them up because I was trying to get moving forward. So either way, you got to pay the piper, right? All right. Yeah, that feels so wrong on so many levels. But what are you gonna do? Alright, it still works. At least we got that going for us. It's a little bit stiff, but good enough. All right.